Welcome to Skytech-Lens. When the Trump administration imposed steep tariffs on key imports, the goal was to protect American industry. But the shockwaves hit Canada hard, threatening its long-standing trade relationship with the US. Canadian producers faced sudden uncertainty, with supply chains at risk, and business models upended overnight. Yet, instead of retaliating, Canadian strategists saw an opportunity for reinvention. Canada chose a pragmatic pivot. If the US market was closing, it would open new doors to the east and west. This was a calculated move, not a reaction of panic, and it set Canada on a path to redefine its global role. By diversifying its trade, Canada transformed vulnerability into resilience, emerging as a more independent and globally connected economic power. The tariffs, meant to isolate the US, instead catalyzed Canada's rise as a diversified trading nation. The Trump tariffs aimed to boost American-made goods by making imports more expensive, but the reality was more complicated. US industries, especially those relying on imported aluminum, faced soaring costs. Canada supplied nearly half of America's aluminum needs. Companies like Walmart and Coca-Cola warned of price hikes, and the ripple effect hit consumers directly. The tariffs, intended to punish foreign competitors, instead created inflation and uncertainty at home. American manufacturers struggled to absorb costs or pass them to customers, eroding competitiveness. Rather than sparking a manufacturing boom, the policy led to higher prices and disrupted supply chains. The impact was felt everywhere, from supermarket aisles to factory floors, revealing the complexity of modern trade. Behind Canada's strategic response was Mark Carney, a central banker with global experience. Carney advised against a damaging trade war, urging a focus on long-term growth and diversification. He identified new markets hungry for Canadian resources and helped position Canada as a stable, reliable partner. The strategy was to attract global capital by offering certainty in a volatile world. Carney's influence shifted Canada from a defensive stance to a proactive, opportunity-driven approach. This behind-the-scenes leadership was crucial in turning a threat into a generational opportunity. Canada's economic pivot became a masterclass in quiet, effective statecraft. Canada responded to US tariffs with a rapid global trade offensive, aiming to reduce its dependence on the American market. Within 90 days, Canada secured $47 billion in new trade deals, especially in Asia and Europe. Landmark agreements with Japan and South Korea focused on critical minerals for electric vehicles and green tech. The EU, seeking stability, finalized major deals with Canada, bypassing traditional US suppliers. Even Mexico began redirecting trade northward, attracted by Canada's predictability. These moves fundamentally reoriented global supply chains, positioning Canada as a premier provider. Canada's strategy wasn't just about exports, it was about building a new network of alliances. The country emerged as a go-to partner for nations seeking stability and trust. The tariffs created a tale of two economies. Canadian aluminum producers thrived, running at full capacity and securing global contracts, while US manufacturers paid higher prices and lost competitiveness. American policies meant to protect industry instead funneled money to Canadian firms and the US government via tariffs. US agriculture suffered too, as retaliatory tariffs closed export markets and prices plummeted. Canada, meanwhile, embraced global engagement, turning crisis into growth. The US strategy led to price shocks and strained alliances. Canada's approach built bridges and diversified its economy. The contrast was clear. Protectionism brought hardship, while openness brought prosperity. In a connected world, Canada's bridge building paid off. For American families, tariffs meant higher prices at the checkout. Retailers like Walmart had to raise prices, and everyday items from beer to soup became more expensive. The burden fell hardest on lower and middle-income households. Meanwhile, American farmers like Chad Smith faced warehouses full of unsold produce as export markets dried up. Surpluses led to waste and financial disaster for many in agriculture. Consumers faced a paradox: higher prices for goods, but farmers unable to sell their crops. The tariffs, meant to strengthen the economy, instead created inflation, waste, and anxiety. The cost of protectionism was borne by ordinary Americans. While US farmers struggled, Canadian agriculture seized the moment. Advanced greenhouses allowed Canadian growers to supply high-quality produce year-round, meeting global demand. Canadian tomatoes, for example, found eager buyers in Tokyo, Dubai, and London. International markets valued Canada's reliability and consistency, giving it a competitive edge. This success extended beyond tomatoes to grains and proteins, thanks to innovation and new trade deals. Canada's agricultural renaissance showed that success depends on delivering quality and reliability to the world. The turmoil of tariffs marked the start of a new, globally integrated era for Canadian farming. In a world shaken by American protectionism, trust became the most valuable asset in trade. Canada's commitment to stability and rules-based agreements made it a preferred partner for nations and corporations alike. Swift deals with Japan, South Korea, and the EU proved Canada could deliver on its promises. International buyers increasingly saw Canada as the safer, more reliable choice. This reputation brought tangible economic benefits as global firms turned north for long-term supply. Canada's greatest victory was its transformation from America's junior partner to a trusted global leader. The country's brand of dependability became its strongest currency. Building bridges, not walls, secured Canada's prosperity for the future. Canada's response to the tariff crisis stands as a lesson in resilience and adaptation. Instead of retreating, Canada used the shock to reinvent itself, diversify, and grow stronger. The US, by contrast, saw higher prices, strained alliances, and unintended harm to its own industries. Canada's outward-looking strategy, guided by expert leadership, created jobs, boosted exports, and reduced risk. The rapid pivot to new markets was a calculated move, not a desperate reaction. In the end, Canada thrived by building bridges and embracing global integration. The story proves that nations can turn adversity into opportunity with vision and adaptability. Canada emerged not just unscathed, but as a model for economic resilience in the 21st century. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more updates.